This is one of the best ebook readers on the market. Let's check it out. Dave Taylor here, and I'm checking out this. Well, let me show you what's going on here. This is the Kobo Libra H2O ebook reader, and it's really slick. As you can see, it features a nice big anti-glare 7-inch eInk screen at 1680 by 1264, which means it's 300 pixels per inch. What does that mean? It means there's a lot of dots in any given area, so the typefaces, the fonts are all displayed very legibly. It's super easy to work with. You can actually touch the screen to get to things, like I'll open up the book I'm reading, and you can swipe if that's what you prefer, but it also has a set of control buttons on the side, and because it reorients, you can use it left-handed or right-handed, or as you saw I was doing, I have the cover on it, and this is a really great little cover to work with. Let me fold it up the right way. So I can do it like this, and it has rotated correctly so that I can just sit and read. And this is great because I can be eating a sloppy soup or doing something else, and then just occasionally just do a quick swipe. Really easy to work with. Now the cover's separate, I'll get to that in a second, but the book itself is typical of these ebook systems where there's different gestures that bring up different options, and that's how you navigate around. So it is sort of like a smartphone, but you have to learn where those little hot spots are. It is IPX8 waterproof. This is my favorite feature here. That's why it's called the H2O. I can drop this in the tub and not notice for 5 minutes, and then finally pull it out, rinse off all the bubbles, if I had bubble baths, and it would be totally fine. You could read this at the pool and actually have some bully come along and kick it into the pool. And then when you pummel that bully and then go and pull it back out from the deep end where it slowly slid down, it's still gonna be fine. So this is really, really able to handle all of the vicissitudes of life. Spill a cup of coffee on it, drop it in your chili, whatever, it can handle it. I'm not sure about the stains on the chili spices, but that's another story. Not necessarily designed for that. But IPX8 waterproof, it does have these page turn buttons, which I really like. And in particular, it's really great because you can do it one-handed. So I can just, be sitting here and just pushing next page, next page, next page with no motion or no gesture or anything. It also features Comfort Light Pro, which is really cool, is that there's sort of a blue tinge to the back of this because it's daytime. But as it gets later in the night, that background will slowly become more reddish as it pulls the blue light out, which is hugely important for your sleep pattern. And then what makes this even better is you can turn the light off completely, and in a completely dark room, it will actually have its own internal light source. I have absolutely read books in very, very dark spaces, and it works really well, and it's really easy. It's one of the controls on the top. It's really easy to adjust your brightness level in the dark. So that works out well. I'll give you a tiny tour of the screen itself in just a minute, but I want to talk a little bit more about it before then. So this one features 8 gigabytes of onboard memory, which doesn't sound like a lot, but I guarantee it's enough to hold dozens of your favorite books. The books in these formats tend to be really, really small, so that works great. It supports 11 different fonts at 40 different font sizes. You can change line spacing, you can change margin size, so you can really fine-tune your book presentation. So if you're the kind of person who goes to the large print at the library, no shame, it's totally cool. You can make this have a really big font, and you can have, it's gonna be a lot of pages, but it'll just automatically match what you prefer. If you have incredibly good eagle-eyed vision, you can shrink it way down and have a lot of text on the screen so that you have to change pages very infrequently. Works out well. Now, battery-wise, this thing charges and just stays charged forever. I've read entire books without having to recharge it once, and I mean, I just really like this. It's really light, it's really comfortable. The buttons for changing pages make it super easy to work with, and you have to go through the Kobo store. So Kobo is part of this huge conglomerate called Rakuten, and they have their own store. So it's like the Kindle store or the Nook store if you're a Barnes & Noble person. And so they have the Kobo store, but it also supports Overdrive. So your public library probably works with Overdrive. It's a hugely popular system. And so you can go to the library, check out a book, and get an electronic copy of it automatically on your Libre H2O. It's incredibly convenient. And yes, after a certain amount of time, the books vanish because you've run out of time with your book. It's kind of magic. There's a third way you can do things too, because you can plug it into your computer. It then shows up as an external hard drive, and you can just copy PDFs and EPUBs. And, can you get to a Kindle book? Well, there are ways online you can convert things and take off the digital rights management or DRM. I'm not going to recommend them, but you can do some Google searches and explore. People have reported success reading Kindle books on a Kobo reader. So it is doable theoretically. I haven't tried it. I find the Kobo store is great, and they have tons and tons of stuff in the $1.99 or $2.99 range, and I'll often find a favorite author and then a relatively obscure work of theirs, and for $1 or $2, I now have a book to read for the next week or two, and that's just fantastic. Now, there are a couple of shortcomings. The biggest of which is that the charging port is micro USB. Now, this unit has been replaced by a newer one called the Libre 2, and one of the changes there is that it switched it to USB-C. I am not a fan of micro USB, but in their very attractive, very Apple-like box, when you open it up, it does come with a really nice long cable, charging cable that's micro USB and USB-A, the rectangle on the other end. The reason I don't like micro USB is you have to make sure you orient it correctly, but it's not a huge crisis. The other thing to know is that it doesn't support Bluetooth, so it doesn't play back audiobooks. Again, the Libre 2 does bring that technology to this reader, but because audiobooks are bigger than ebooks, it also has to give you more memory, and that's how that sort of all balances out. For me, this is literally an ebook reader that I'm using to read ebooks. So I don't really care about Bluetooth. If I want to listen to music, I'll do something with my smartphone. And if I want to listen to an audiobook, I'll probably do that off my phone. So this is a book reader. And as you can see, here it is. And this is the typeface that I generally use. It is nice and clear. In fact, let me bring the camera around. You can look over my shoulder and I'll give you a super quick tour of just some of the basic functionality. Here's the home screen, and as you can see, there are all these controls along the top for your preferences and settings, and then there are 4 primary navigation elements on the bottom. We can jump to the Kobo store, and it uses Wi-Fi, so that if you have a Wi-Fi network, you're good to go. And you can see Overdrive is integrated right there, and that's how you access your library's loaning library of ebooks. Really as easy as it can be. Let's go back to my books, and I'm in the middle of reading, actually I guess I'm starting to read Altered Genes. And so here's the text display. Now let's bring down that control again. And so there's some things we can do. I can adjust auto rotate or lock it into a rotation. I can change the brightness. And notice what happens if I change the natural light. That's more of a nighttime tint, and it's actually sensing what's going on, and I've set my bedtime to 10 p.m. when I want it to be the least possible blue light. Then the real fun is when you get into changing your layout. So I can choose a font. That's a number of choices, and notice they even have one designed for people that have some challenges with dyslexia, which I think is really interesting. You can also go to font size, so watch down here as I get larger. And that flashing of the screen is very distinctive to eInk and true across all the different eInk systems. I can change line spacing. I can change margins. I can change the orientation or alignment or justification of the text. There's some specs if you're into mathematics and numbers and keeping track of things. And then there are more settings. So I turn off header and footer. I don't want to know how far into the book I am, because then I get obsessed with like reading 4% and things like that. So you can turn that on or off. It's all super easy to work with. And that's about it. Let me bring it actually back down again, go back to the home screen. And there's lots more you can do with this. It's a really fun and really powerful device. Now, let me jump back on camera. I decided to take it out of the case to just show you real quick. It is important to know that the power button is on the back, and that's actually quite convenient because you just push it and now your device will wake up, and you push it again and it'll go back to sleep. And when it's sleeping, you get your book cover as the screensaver. Now it's e-ink. The screen won't generally ever go off, but this is not using any power at all. It's kind of a very different screen technology to what you have on your laptop or your iPad or your television. It's a very different system and has a lot of really amazing features, one of which is it actually is better and brighter and crisper in direct sunlight than it is in an environment where you have lights around you, which is absolutely the opposite of your standard screens. So if you're thinking, I could use an iPad for this. Well, number one, way more expensive. But number two, screen technology like an Apple iPad is really hard to read in direct sunlight. Is that a big deal? Well, if you're on your cruise ship or you're sitting outside enjoying the sun at the pool or something, then a device like this is just absolutely fantastic. It's going to be even easier to read in direct sunlight. And if you accidentally drop it in the pool, as I said earlier, no problem at all. So this is the device. You can see it is really small. In fact, it's 5.6 inches by 6.2 inches by 0.2 of an inch, and it's 6 ounces. So I promise you, you can hold it like this and read a book for hours without any problem. Now, the other thing I have here is I do have the Kobo Libre H2O sleep cover, and it's really slick. You can see it's a 2-part unit. It is all a single piece. It is really easy to put your device in it, and it's done. And since it's custom designed for it, you can see that the cover actually has a bend to cover those control buttons. But just as nice is they have what some companies call an origami cover. So it folds, and now you can use this, if I flip it this way, as a stand. And again, I really like that. I really like just the usability of this device is just through the roof. It is so easy and convenient. And it is not that expensive, compared to some of the other high-end, larger ebook readers. This is right in the same price range. So we should talk about the price. But before we get to the price, I'm going to ask if you could subscribe to my channel. Click or tap on that subscribe button and we're connected. Pretty easy, right? Cool. Now, this is the Kobo Libra H2O ebook reader, and it's a little confusing. It's $138.98 in this color black, or $169.96 in white, exactly the same unit, just different color plastic. So the white is obviously a little bit more spendy, and both of them you can pick up at Amazon.com. Obviously, I would recommend get the black one, save yourself some money, and put that money into this Kobo Libre H2O sleep cover, which comes in this really attractive blue or black or gray or pink, and that one's $39.99, and I could only find that at kobobooks.com, so actually the company's own website. But there are third-party companies that also make covers with the same origami style and the same open to wake and all that sort of stuff. And those third-party companies, you can find their covers on Amazon.com too. So dig around a little bit. I have to say that this has become one of my absolute favorite ebook readers, and my kids are highly envious of all the ebook readers I have, so I loan them out, and this one was hard to get back. So definitely one worth checking out. I have to say, I am a big reader, and this just makes it glorious to have multiple books. It's super easy. Leave it in your car, and then whenever you're ready, you can just switch to another book or go to the Kobo bookstore, or even just go into overdrive. So, all good. Everything I like. The only constraints I have is it doesn't have Bluetooth and that micro USB connection, but otherwise, definitely top of the list. That's all I got. I'm going back to my book, so I'll have to catch you in my next video.